Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Peachy Keen Pans. My name's Claire, and today I'm going to be updating my Pan Those Eyeshadows project. I've been very keen to update this, and I think I've made some really good progress on some of the shades. Some of them you can't really see it as much, but basically I've hit 2 pans, and yeah, one of them came back quite naturally, and the other one I was really like aggressively going for it. So at the moment, I've done my base. I don't have any eyeshadow on or eye products because I thought I'll do a look with whatever shades end up in my next rotation. But yeah, I'll take you through the numbers now. So I keep track of everything in my diary. All right, so the 5 shades that I had in this rotation, well, in my first rotation, were, where are we? Okay, Marc Jacobs On the Dance Floor, which was a peach satin, Femme Fatale Reindeer Dust, which was a loose eyeshadow that was like a satin, very, very pale peach to green shift that I ended up using a lot more as a highlighter, and I have now recategorized it in my collection as a highlighter because I think that's my preferred way to use it. Claro Psyche Phantom, which was a light grey matte, and Too Faced Warm and Toasty, which was a bright warm gold metallic, and then Too Faced Gingerbread Latte, which was a warm brown matte essentially. But I'll go through, I don't know how people normally do these, if they do them, I'm trying to remember if it's like the ones that you hit pan on first. I feel like I might as well do that, right? Because that's the exciting stuff. So first off, I'll do it chronologically. So, and then I'll talk through how I used each of them as well. So in terms of chronologically, I mean, whichever one I hit pan on first, I'll talk about that. So originally when I had showed you Reindeer Dust from Femme Fatale, it was in a round pan. And that was after initially having it in a square pan that was part of a face quad, and then I decided, actually I'd rather have it as an eyeshadow single. I then ended up deciding I'd rather have it back in the little face quad. So that's what I did now. So this is, here we go. That's the face quad. It's a custom face quad that I made. Unfortunately, as you can see, the lower shade has shattered. So this one, I just have dropped this palette a weird number of times. I'm not someone who drops palettes much. I am very careful, but this one I've done damage anyway, so I need to fix that up. This was a custom blush, or like a Franken blush that I made this last month, using yellow eyeshadow, some goldy, sort of pale gold shimmers, and a sort of very, very light peach matte as well. And then, as you can see, this is the exciting part. Let's see if I can catch it in the light. I hope that will catch. Hello. We have pan. I hit pan. So I hit pan in Reindeer Dust after, let me check, 10, 20, 23 uses, and then used it an additional 5 times. So that probably sounds kind of nuts to have used it that much in a month, or at least for me. Most of the time when I do pan those eyeshadows, it's like maybe 10 uses in a month, but I used it 28 times, and that is because I was using it as a highlighter. So I essentially chucked it onto every single look I did. Like, to me, wearing a slightly green shift highlighter is not, I don't know, difficult or unusual. It was fine just to add that onto a look. I'm not bothered by it, and it also it wears down quite quickly. It's not a very long lasting shade, so that's fine. But yeah, I used it 28 times, both as an eyeshadow and a highlighter, and basically concluded I'd rather use this as a highlighter. I'd also rather categorize it as a highlighter. So it's now back in a face quad and won't actually count towards the number of pans in eyeshadows now. It will count towards the number of pans in highlighters. But that one's one that we're going to roll out, and I'm pretty happy about that too. Oh yeah, side note, I have a little, where are we, a pot of tea with me, and my little cup. This is a peppermint rose tea. Yeah, I'm not normally a peppermint in the morning type of person, but I just felt like I have a little bit of a sore throat, so I felt like I needed to change things up. Okay, so next shade then that I hit pan on. is, we'll do like the slow reveal. There she is. I'm gonna try and get the light. I can't tell if it's, anyway. There, new pan in, what is it called again? Warm and toasty. So I hit pan after 14 uses. Now you can probably see by the shape of that kind of dip, there was already a dip in the pan because it's one that I used to use a fair bit, as I explained last time, mixed with a cooler toned yellow to make a more true yellow. But yeah, so basically I had over the last month started using it again with a finger. Pinky finger is kind of how I generally do my shimmers. I find they apply best that way. And then as it got kind of deeper and deeper, I was like, God, I know that if I start using a brush, I can hit pan on this. And so I did. And I was also, I mean, it's also a good learning experience to understand with this formula, how does it work with a brush compared to a finger? The answer is worse. With the brush, there was way more fallout. It was kind of a nightmare. I was, using a relatively dense brush, trying to sort of pack it on the lid and then on the lower lash line, that kind of thing. The only time where a brush was definitely necessary and helpful was when I did a sort of like a soft graphic look, if you will, like a graphic look, but just using this one eyeshadow, and I used it all over the lid, into the crease, and in a kind of sharp corner at the outer corner kind of way. I'll put a picture up, but it's that's one where I definitely needed to use a glitter glue, tap it along kind of the outer edges, and then tap that using a brush, because with my finger it would have been way too messy and not precise enough. So anyway, I ended up hitting pan and warm and toasty. I'm really happy with that because I, especially like the last few days, and certainly each time I've wanted to work, I've been using it and ending up with like a very warm gold look. I'm a bit over it now, so happy to move on to something else. But yeah, that is what the fourth pan in this palette. You'll see, like, in terms of the pans in this palette, the gold and the peach matte are probably the ones that are kind of the more like, I don't know how to put it, likable pans or like authentic pans. People got really mad at how I hit pan in Hot Toddy because it looked, I guess, like I was drill panning, and like maybe to some extent I kind of was. I just really was over having it in my rotation. I was like, dear God, I'm done. I just want the satisfaction of knowing that I've hit pan in it. I guess same with Spiked Eggnog. I ended up using a lot in the inner corner. That's the pale shimmery shade. Anyway, I think looking at my cookie, what a horrendous shade. Oh my God. Looking at my cookie and warm and toasty are a bit more naturally occurring, if you will. So yeah, that's how it's looking now. Just again, I just keep showing you because I'm so happy with it. And then moving on to the next shade. What should I talk about next? I'm trying to think. Maybe I'll go from showing most progress to showing least progress. Yeah, so then in that case, the next one would be Marc Jacobs On the Dance Floor, which is the last shadow in this palette. So the peach satin, hopefully that will go into focus, if you can see. So there's like a little bit of something happening there, right? You can kind of see there is some texture, there is, like maybe the tiniest bit of a dip starting to form. Not a whole lot, admittedly, but I used that partly as an outer corner shade. What else did I use it for? I think mostly as an outer corner shade, because it's sort of, what's the word? Not surprisingly, this, the word when something is secretly, I'm sure all of you will be like, Claire, we know the word. Anyway, it is not subjectively, my goodness, it is more, it's deeper than it looks. It's deeper than it looks is all I'm going to say. Right, so that one, outer corner for me, that was mostly how I used it. I don't know, like, I don't think I would use it all over the lid unless I was going for more of a, like, matte only look, because even though this is a satin, it's like barely a satin. It is more of a matte shade, I think, at least. But yeah, I don't mind having it in here. It's definitely going to be in for a fair bit longer. I reckon it'll take a couple more months. Yeah, so we'll see if I can hit pan by the end of the year. Maybe. Yeah, let's see. Next shade is Phantom, which is in here. This is also looking a little different now because I dug out the yellow. As you can see, that top corner shade, I dug that out because the yellow was just shit in this palette, to be honest. And then hopefully you can see how the gray is going. Yeah, so like a little bit of a dip, but not heaps is what I would say. But yeah, essentially a bit of a dip. Yeah, a little. My favorite way to use this shade was to use it as a base kind of all over the lid and in the crease, and then add an iridescent on top, because I think like a grey based iridescent is really beautiful. I really only own one true like grey base with a strong shift shade, which is G'day from Glaminatrix, which I've mentioned before because it's like one of my favorite eyeshadows of all time. But I used Phantom with Terra Moon's Red Giant, and that looked really beautiful. And that was actually, if we're going to get really into it, that was inspired by an eyeshadow from Chaos Dirt, I'm pretty sure, which was like a grey with a pink shift, and I thought that looked so stunning. And then I was thinking, well, actually, I mean, I should at least try doing it with the shades I already own, which is to say doing a grey and then adding an iridescent rather than going and buying a new shade that combines the two. And it looked so nice. I was really happy with how it turned out. And the other iridescent I used it with was IS1 from Glaminatrix. I have to say, I find that shade name so disappointing. Like, I love shade names. I really enjoy, you know, things being called Fantasy, Phantom, Gingerbread. Like, these are all quite like evocative names, and a name like IS1, I'm like, you give me nothing, you know. Yeah, I totally love Glaminatrix. I love their formula, but I wish their iridescents had slightly more interesting names. But I understand when you've made that many shades, like probably at some point you rack your brains and you're like, God damn, iridescent shifters 1. That's what it is. So IS1, the reason I bought that is I have wanted a orangey red iridescent shadow for like a year, but haven't gotten around to buying one, mostly because I'm in Australia and like shipping here from the US or even the UK, it's just very expensive. I'm never going to buy one eyeshadow from an indie brand because the shipping will cost more than the shadow. And even in Australia, that's like kind of the case as well. But then when Glaminatrix released that shadow, I just thought, okay, that is exactly what I want. Like, it's I think pretty close to Terra Moon's Phoenix, which like is hyped over across the whole indie loving space. And yeah, basically has the same sort of shift. I can't say it's a total dupe. I'm sure the texture is a little different, but it's stunning. And it's also in a rose gold pen, which is cool. I'll show you that really quickly. I know this is a tangent, but Glaminatrix has started doing rose gold pens, which is just like an interesting little change for them. So this is, oh, there. Let's see if that comes into focus. IS1. Isn't she pretty? Yeah. So yeah, I layered that also over the grey. I think that's how I'll continue using it, because like, I don't think I love grey with other colours that much. But as soon as I say that, I'm like, well, you don't know, Claire. You don't wear grey eyeshadows enough. So I will continue working on it. I'm glad to have it in the project, and we'll see what comes of further use with it. The other thing I did with it is I wore it with not warm and toasty, gingerbread latte. Right, which I already spoiled by showing this before, whatever. Gingerbread latte is also in the project. Oh God. Here, this one. So as you can see, jack shit progress. It looks like barely touched, of course. I used it 9 times. Sorry, and I forgot to say, I think I forgot to say my numbers. Oh, I will have put them on screen. On the dance floor from Marc Jacobs, I used 6 times, and Phantom I used 3 times. Gingerbread latte I used 9 times. So I used gingerbread latte a fair bit to just do a basic deepening of the crease when I used the warm and toasty shade, but I also used it with like layered over Phantom. So essentially a grey and a warm brown combining to make a cool brown, because one of my jumpers is like a little cropped jumper that I wear to the gym. That one is a very cool toned brown, and I don't own that many sort of cool toned brown clothes or makeup, as it seems. I have like a kind of taupey shade in there somewhere, like a greyish taupe, but a cool brown kind of doesn't exist for me, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, I layered the two of them to get that shade, and that worked really nicely. Not sure if I have a photo of it. If I do, I'll put it up here, but that's how all the shadows are going. Now for the exciting part, I'll have a sip of tea to steady myself. Okay, so for the exciting part, we're gonna roll in new shadows. So I'll just check how many, I'm pretty sure, what was the number I said last time? It's like 159. I'll just count really quick. Okay, I'm gonna say now we have 158 eyeshadows, which is to say Reindeer Dust I've now recategorized as a highlighter, and I have 2 new eyeshadows from Glaminatrix, which was IS1, and also Smog, which is like a pukey yellowy green, which I love. So 158, we're going to randomize between the number 1 and 158. Yeah, as I said last time, because I film with my phone, I don't use the shaky app that everyone else, well, most other people are using. So I'm just using random number generator on Google. Like Google has its own function for that. So, okay, let's go. 14. 14. Oh, fuck. Yeah, okay. All right. So, here we are. Okay. There's the usual. This is my layout. 14 is this shadow. So, all right. That will be a solid challenge for me, because that is a dark plum matte that has no use essentially, or like maybe a couple of uses. I also think it might have been a bit patchy, but I don't want to badmouth it when I can't remember 100%. So that is this shade. I can't believe I keep getting this palette in here. Maybe it's like penance for the fact that it's my biggest palette and I haven't used it that much. Okay. Well, I mean, I have used it obviously quite a lot, but not all of the shades. So Figgy Pudding. Okay, cute. We've got gingerbread latte and figgy pudding. I mean, okay, I said I like shade names. That's very cute. All right. Okay, so that's rolling in. Cool. Maybe as a liner that will help me. I don't know. I just think like that's a very deep matte, and I don't deepen out my eye looks very often that far. I'll swatch it on the back of my hand. Get ready for swatches of my shadows. Oh yeah, okay, that's quite pretty. Like eggplant kind of color. It's a little sheer, so I feel like the slight yellowiness of my skin shows through it, but like, and it's also one of those mattes that like there's heaps left on my finger, and then that's what the shadow looks like, which is, it's pretty, yeah. It's just very dark for me. So, okay. Oh, I almost want to wear it as a blush, but that's like even more crazy. All right, I'm going to generate my next shade. 91. Oh, okay. All right, this is way more achievable. I reckon this will be out by the end of the month. I know that's cocky, but let's just say it. So 91 is, where are we? Oh man, I'm kind of bummed I didn't get another single, but that's okay. 91 is this shadow. So that is a sort of deep bronze, or like deep, maybe deep is light, a mid bronze metallic, super metallic from Marc Jacobs. So again, we have a repeat palette, and there is a huge dip in this. I think that's fair to say that that is a huge dip. This one I've only ever really used with my finger. This is pretty similar to Warm and Toasty if I'm honest. It's just darker and more copper. But yeah, I'll probably try to use it with a finger, and then if I get impatient, I might use it with the brush. Maybe we'll be getting another graphic eye with just one shadow all over the lid kind of thing. Anyway, so that's that shade. There they are together. They're all right together, aren't they? I mean, well, I say that, but would I actually wear them together? Who knows? Look, it's pretty. Okay, then I'll add my 3 other shades that were already in, which are from the same palettes. Like, how weird is that? But there you go. So we'll go gingerbread latte. Okay. Gingerbread latte. And on the dance floor, I do feel the dip. You know, you can like feel it when you swatch a shade. I feel it on the dance floor. Oh, this is a weird. This is almost kind of. It's a bit of a Halloween color story. Oh my god. Like, except for the peach, but the rest, yeah. That's kind of fun. All these freaking Halloween palettes coming out, and I end up like with a full Halloween rotation. Let me go for Phantom. Oh, even like the name, Phantom. Ooh, okay. What is that bronzy shade called again? Meet Ya. Oh my god. Fucking Marc Jacobs and those like story shade names. Okay. So this is like, I want to say kind of ugly, or is it so ugly that it then ends up looking nice? I don't know. Here are my new shades. There we go. All 5 of them for your viewing pleasure. So that is, look, it's okay. And this is how it sort of looks on my skin tone. They're a bit muted in this light, but it's just because the sun's not very bright. Anyway, what am I going to do with these? Okay. I mean, you'll have to stay tuned next month to see what I do. What am I going to do today? I don't really want anything too intense, to be honest. Maybe I will literally just pop on Figgy Pudding as a liner to see how it holds up being used just with a angle brush as a liner, and then I will come back to you and see how that looks. Okay, so I will admit this look is a little bit of a cop out, but I did want to see what that purple looked like as a liner, and I think the result is that it's not quite dark enough for it. I mean, maybe, like, sort of. It's very subtle. I used a bit of a purple highlighter. I also used that duochrome from the gingerbread palette, the pink to gold, and just on my lower lash line to give like some color to the lower lash line. But yeah, this is an interesting color story for the coming month. A little spooky. I feel like if you just added a green, this would look like every single Halloween release coming out at the moment. And if you change the peach to a red, boom, it's Halloween. So yeah. Anyway, I will do my best to use them in an interesting way, and I will see you all in a month's time. Bye!